Hey guys, welcome back. This is Thelefevrefever, and today we are here for another tier list video. Like I said, I believe in the first video that I made, I will be remaking this video in about a year, and now a year has passed. So I've added quite a few new locomotives just spread all around here. It will have a similar order to last time, although I have made quite a few changes in the rankings themselves. Unlike Amtrak Guy 365's video, this will try to include all of the possible locomotives that have run under Amtrak's colors, from the past to the present day, of course. A few of these will be grouped up into just a series, so like just all F units are ranked as 1, all E units are ranked as 1, quite a few SW switchers are just ranked as that entire class. This makes it a lot simpler. Of course, it would be around like 54 locomotives in total that would be ranked if I were to split them up a lot more. I also took into consideration a lot of your guys' feedback about some of the choices I have made. Of course, let's remember, these are all opinions, and I'm just trying to have fun here, so I hope you guys have fun too. So now, let's get on to ranking these locomotives. Starting off with a GP7. They look fairly nice. I like these maintenance of way paint scheme on them, but they really didn't do terribly much, and you didn't actually see them that often, so I'm just going to put them right in B. Same with the SW series. There's quite a few included in all that. I believe about 6 different variations of SW 1000, 1001, 12,000, 1500, and so I'm just going to put those in B because they're very useful. And they weren't Amtrak's original kind of locomotive, they were just kind of bought as a stopgap. Next, we're going to be going on to a GP9, pretty much the same as the GP7. I think last time I referred to these as SD7s and SD9s. They are not. That's me also coming back to fix some of the mistakes I made just with the names of these locomotives. I mean, it's pretty much the same, it's just got 2 more axles, and it's just a little bit longer, so we'll just put it back in B. Next, we have a CF7. There weren't that many of these produced. I believe they were a Santa Fe product originally. They were kind of inherited by Amtrak just so the Santa Fe didn't have to deal with them really that much anymore. So that's why they're going down into C. Next, we have the RS series. This is RS 1, 2, and 3s. These were not, again, used that much. They were mostly inherited. Sometimes they can look a little funky just with their cabs and hoods. They look, a little bit cursed, but overall they didn't really do anything bad. Next up, we have the GG1. I actually own a model of one of these myself, and I enjoy running it around the layout. And these locomotives were very useful for the Pennsylvania Railroad, but also for Amtrak and getting them really started up from the 70s till about 83, when they were finally really retired. They have some pretty elegant looks and that streamlined design to them, as well as having their own paint scheme practically. Next, we have all of the E series. I mean, this is also going to go in C for an inherited locomotive. These really didn't do much, and they were just mostly a stopgap kind of thing. If I were to rank just this locomotive here in the black, one of the first Amtrak locomotives in its own paint scheme, that would go up in B, but ranking all of the E series, they're just going to go into C. Next, we have a GP40 TC. I want to put these up in A. I do like a lot of the liveries that they came in, and the little Amtrak sign in the front I find it's pretty cool. I know it's inherited from Go Transit, so Amtrak really didn't put that there themselves, but I like it nonetheless. Next, we have all of the F units. The F units I'm just going to put in B. These were inherited, just like the rest of these down here and most of these up here. Although I just like the F units a little bit more than the E units. Again, they were mostly just a stopgap measure. 44 tonner from General Electric. I mean, I don't like these terribly much. They do look a little funky with the double-endedness to them. Although I'm just going to throw them in C. They are very useful to this day, so I can't really knock them that much. Next, we have an SDP40F or a PF45. I'm just going to mix both of these two together since I really can't tell the difference on the outside that much. I'm going to put these on C border to D. These had quite a few issues with the derailing in the water tanks down below. It would kind of slosh around, as well as being a 6-axle truck vehicle. They didn't run that well on the rails oftentimes. That's why most passenger locomotives nowadays only have 2 axles per bogie. Next we have the GP38. I mean, this is just a pretty basic freight locomotive. I don't see how much it fits really into Amtrak. I understood they bought it, or they may have just inherited it, but I feel like it doesn't really fit in with the rest of these Amtrak locomotives a little bit, because at least this one up here was bought by Go Transit and used for passenger service more, while this was really just more of kind of just a heavy switcher pretty much, or a maintenance away locomotive. Next we got the Metroliners here. I'm going to put them in B, bordering A. They were very fast for their time, they're very sleek looking, although they were just inherited from the Pennsylvania, or Penn Central, pretty much. And their cars and cab cars are still used to this day, so they're pretty useful. Actually, I'm going to move them up to A for that. I also just kind of like the stylish look of them, although they are a little flat in the front. I think this paint scheme suits them well, especially for their era. Next we have the RDC. I mean, I don't like the looks of this terribly much. I don't know how many actually truly served or served for a long period of time, or I can't remember the exact numbers, but I don't think it was for terribly long, and for that they're going to fall down into the trash compactor. I don't believe any of these are actually preserved. Correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments below. Now the cabbed version of the RDC, I do like that a little bit more. And so I think the cab just lifts it up to B. It's a little less ugly and jarring as just practically a passenger car on wheels. Next we have the E44. This is going to be going up into S or A. I really like the look of this and how utilitarian it is. I understand it's also a borrowed product from Conrail and other things like Penn Central, but I believe 2 of them are still in service down in Arizona this day. And like I said earlier, I just like the utilitarian look and how powerful and strong it looks. Especially for being a large electric, you don't really have too many of those here in the US. Speaking of large electrics, we have the E60s. These also derailed and fouled on the rails quite a bit. They also had a few mechanical issues, so I'm going to drop these just into D here. I don't know how many people will fight me for that, but I don't think it'll be terribly many. Now, another fan favorite here, this would be the F40PH, and this is going A, border to S, really close there. Very iconic for the time, served well and long. Some of them are still in service today as cab cars or cabbage cars. They were very much an icon of the era that they were in, and they served very well. One thing I think outshines the F40PHs is the, sorry, this is a long name, F69PHAC. I think these just had a better looking cab, and the fact that they were AC traction, really pretty much the first of its time, or at least in modern locomotive history. This kind of paved the way for more AC traction all over the US at least. And Metra did restyle some of their F40PHs to have the similar cab to the F69PHAC. So that's just another point for that. Alright, now we're moving on to quite a few switchers here just in a row. We have the genset. I'm just going to throw these in D. Oop, D. And these look pretty similar to a lot of the other switchers, but I think they just have a few less redeeming qualities about the looks of them. And now GP15. I have it in my notes here that I've marked just better than the genset, so it goes in C. I mean, some of these switchers look good. They're really hard to tell between the two. But I think after looking through quite a few photos of these, trying to pick which ones are a little bit better than the other, the genset just falls down. MP15 here, very similar to the SW switchers, just a little bit larger. I think I like the look of that a little bit more than the genset or this GP15, so I'm going to throw that up in B. Next we have a GG20B. I'm just going to put this the same as the GP15. They look incredibly similar, although I did actually look up, they do have quite a few little differences, but just from the looks here, it's hard to tell. Now we have the 2S12B. I'm going to also throw this in C. It's very much just a box cab, but just a modern one. I find it very interesting, but it's not really interesting enough to pull it up the higher ranks here. Most of these switchers are just going to fall down into here. Before I finish the video, I will revise my rankings after I do this all. So some of these locomotives might move up, might move down, other places like that. Next we have the LRC. These didn't really fulfill their original purpose, since only 2 of them were purchased by Amtrak and quite a few were purchased by VIA, but they didn't end up serving that much. So I'm just going to throw them in C. I know last time I got some hate for putting them down in D, but they did have a few mechanical issues, and I'm ranking them in their service to Amtrak, not as their service for other railroads. That's kind of why the E and F units are lower down. If I was ranking Union Pacific passenger locomotives or New York Central passenger locomotives, that might be a little higher up. Now we have the F59PH. This is in the North Carolina paint scheme. This is kind of a fun Triclops locomotive. It does stand out a little bit, so I think I'm just going to throw that up in B for its unique design. Obviously, I understand it's a state-funded railroad project, but I think it stands out quite a bit from the rest with its fun and different livery. Although I think the F59PHI does beat it out in that it is actually truly streamlined, and it does actually match with its Surfliner coaches and all the other liveries it's run under, as well as it served a few other railroads, but that's not really taken too much into consideration. Alright, the P30CH, or Pooch, is going right to D. Like most 6-axle locomotives for Amtrak, has had some mechanical issues as well as some derailing problems, and I don't think I have to defend my choice terribly much more. Now we're going to be running through a few more experimental locomotives here, starting with the Turboliner 1, and I'm going to throw this one up in B. I mean, it did look a little aged for the era it came out in, being the 70s and 80s, but I think it stands out and is a cool concept for the future, although it didn't really pay out in the end. Turboliner 2, quite a few issues with that on the inside. I do like its better looks, and it's a little bit more modern styling to it all. Now, Turboliner 3. This one's also going up into B. I kind of like how they kept trying to make it work, and I think this paint scheme fits better with the Turboliner 3 than it ever did with the Turboliner 2. And I believe there are still 2 of them, just sitting around, not in service, but sitting in a few sidings. Alright, Turbo Train time! But I'll also put that in C with the Turboliner. Had a lot of mechanical issues. I understand it might have done a little bit better in Canada, but here on Amtrak it didn't do terribly well. It does have a nice paint scheme to it, but I don't think that redeems it too much. Alright, now we have the Flexliner. I mean, I didn't even know Amtrak tested one of these. You guys let me know down in the comments below the last video about this locomotive. I'm going to throw it up into B. It's weird but interesting European design. It's pretty cool and stands out quite a bit. If you guys have some more information about this Flexliner, I'd love to know. Why does it exactly have the giant cushion in the front of it? That'd be kind of cool to know. I'm assuming it has to do something with matching up with other ends, so they kind of just squish together, creating an airtight seal, but I don't know. Very interesting nonetheless. Now we have the RC4, another European design. I like the rounded corners of it all. It makes it look very sleek, and eventually it helped lead to the AEM7, so I'm just going to throw it up in A. I think the liveries that it was in fit it very well. Now we have the CC 21,000. I looked this one up again. I had this one the first time, and I put it up in S the first time, and I think I'm going to stick with that. I do love the French angled windows. It's very unique to their designs. I feel like I haven't seen that on many other railroads, or at least in Europe. Both of them helped contribute to the AEM-7. Arguably, the Swiss helped a lot more, but I just like the styling, and this looks a lot better. Next, we have the AEM-7. I'm going to put it up in A tier, same with the F40PH. Both of these served Amtrak well over the years. I believe the AEM-7 has served with it under its own power for longer. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I can't believe it's too far off between those two. Alright, now we have an ES44. Just going to throw this up into B, border of A. I understand it was a stopgap locomotive, so it's not truly like an Amtrak design, really. I do love the Pepsi can logo on it and all the iconography. It does have a unique design that stands out from quite a few. I understand some of these other locomotives ran with Pepsi can designs, such as the GP40TC. Now it's time for the all-powerful Genesis. I'm going to put that up into S. These have been the only locomotives that I've ran under and been pulled by. This includes the P40s and the P42s, just all Genesis variants. They've become very long-lasting, and I feel like they're more of a sign of Amtrak to the outside world than the F40PH has become now. So it's kind of outshined both of those two in that regard. Next we have the HHP8. This really didn't do too much. It had a few issues with it. It's kind of like a cursed version of a Acela with the double-endedness to it. I understand it was useful for a time, but it's now been surpassed by the ACS64, and so that's why I'm just going to put it down in C. Next, we have another fan favorite, the Acela. I'm going to throw this up in S. It's the first true high-speed train in America for a long service. I understood the Metro liners ran at a quick speed, although they kind of bounced around owners, like I said earlier, for a while, and so they never really got to show their true power in a straight line or down the main lines, and the Acela fits that role. Now it will be finally retiring, hopefully with the Avelia Liberty taking that spot. Next we have the Spanish Talgos. It's a Talgo 8 with the cab car on the end. The rest of it looks great aside from the end. I mean, I feel like it looks too flat and blocky. Like I said earlier, that's why I kind of put it lower the first time. And I think the term I've seen several times is like a semi-truck front. It literally just is a flat wall. And I think that just downgrades it a little bit. They are very useful, so I can't really knock it that much further. Next, we have the ACS64. I remember these coming out, and I'm going to just put these up in 2A. They're on the same level now of the AEM-7 in usefulness. They've also had quite a few fun paint schemes and wraps put around them, and now they've helped, modernize the whole Northeast Corridor more than the HHP8s ever did. Now we have the ACL42. Put these up in to A. I believe Amtrak Guy 365 was very critical of these, and I don't really understand it that much. I mean, they've served their purpose, and they will be serving their purpose. I don't believe they're a full S yet, since they still have to have time to prove themselves and make themselves of value, but I like the general styling of them and the paint schemes they come in. Moving on swiftly to the Chargers for the Midwest, or the SC44s. I'm going to also put these up in A. These are a little bit closer to B. Again, they still need time to prove themselves, and I don't really like the commuter front to them too much, but I understand it serves a well purpose in that, so I can't really knock it that much. Next we have the Charger cab cars. These aren't inherently locomotives, but the Metro liners, as I ranked them, I didn't rank them truly as locomotives. Same with the Talgo set. I think I'm going to also just throw these up in A or maybe down to B. These still need time to prove themselves, and they actually aren't even out on the railroad yet, so I'm just going to leave them down in B. They do look very nice and very stylish in that way. and I respect the new look that they'll give to Amtrak. Alright, now to the Liberty. Just gonna about that. Alright, nothing more really to be said about that one there. Okay, I'm joking really here. I'm gonna throw it just into B. It's not... The issue I have with it is that the cab and the first set of cars are not actually aligned with each other. The cars stick out a little bit from the cab. That's kind of a issue I have with them that bugs me a little bit. They've been held back for quite a few years, so I can't really blame them for that. The nose of it does look a little interesting and weird, but it does help it stand out quite a bit. And so I'm just going to leave it in B there. Right now to the German Ice Train, ICE. I'm going to also throw that just into B. I don't like the look of them that much. I understand they were just testing locomotives, and they did eventually help inspire the Acela Express itself, but the German ICE 1 has not really been a favorite of mine for too long. It's not bad, but it's not inherently good in my eyes. I understand they serve well. I'm just rating this one mostly off of looks, since it really didn't serve in North America. It was just a testing locomotive. Alright, on to our last one here. The X2000. Gotta throw this up into A. This one is an A because I feel like it just looks a little bit better than the German. And they both served a similar purpose. It's just that little bit of styling that splits the two of these up. Alright, now I have my first set here. I might make a few changes here over the next few minutes just off camera, and I'll get back to you guys then. Alright, now I think I've made my last few changes. I've only moved about 3 things around here. And so this, I believe, is my final rankings for around 48 different locomotives themselves. Some of them grouped up into series, so it'd be, like I said earlier, like 54, 55 in total. But I didn't want to go meticulously through like F7, F9, FL9, E6, E8, E9, I didn't want to get that nitty and gritty, especially with those SWs. You can fit quite a few just into the rankings here, and they would pretty much just all stay in B or C, like a lot of the other switching locomotives are down here. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed all of this. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments down below. I had a lot of fun remaking this video and adding a few more locomotives to the ranking here. This ranking is available on tiermaker.com. I believe you just have to look up Amtrak Locomotive tier list. This one's under 2024. The one from last year is under 2023. The thumbnail for it should be this GP7. The one from 2023 should be a GG1. If you guys want to figure that out and rank these yourselves, feel free to share, like I said earlier, what you would have moved. And if you use this tier maker list, you can show me online or share online, either to my Instagram or, as I have linked down here, my Twitter, although I don't really use it that much. Of course, if you have any fan mail, you can send that to me on my email that is linked on my YouTube homepage. Just go all the way to the About tab and go down. Alright, now I'd like to thank you guys again. I hope you enjoyed all my rankings, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye!